welcome to Lights Up. Today's podcast is all about our next awesome production, which is Vardy v Rooney, the Wagatha Christie Trial, written by Liv Hennessy, on the main stage from the 14th to the 18th of October, with a Saturday matinee on the 18th. And we are delighted to welcome the show's director, Owen.
Hello.
And some cast members, Dina.
Hi.
And Roger.
Hello, Frances.
To the room. And I'm going to go to you first, Owen, and ask you a couple of questions about why you did this lovely production and what it's all about, please.
Ooh, let me tackle the what it's all about first, and then that will explain why I did it. So if you didn't already know, I'm sure you would have guessed, this is a dramatisation of what was the real libel trial between Rebekah Vardy and Coleen Rooney. So what we've got in this play is a court transcript condensed and cut down from 7 days into a 90-minute play of what actually happened in court. So it is verbatim theatre, which is different because it's exciting, but also every word you hear is exactly what happened in the trial. We are taken through a journey through the 7 days from the start of giving evidence to the end, to the actual verdict itself of what unfolded in court. And verbatim theatre is difficult because, one, you have to stick to exactly what happened. It's conveyed in a way where everything is true, and so there is an element of truth to it, and that's difficult, particularly for the cast, because they are bringing to life real people. So the characterisation, you want to make it engaging and you want to find those bits. But also, because the trial obviously wasn't recorded, we don't know what these people were like. We only have what we know about them, what we can read about them. So there's an interesting challenge for the cast. And so on to your second question about why. Well, I am by day a journalist. That is my day job. And at the time I was actually a court reporter, and I was actually covering this trial. And so I look back and I remember every day when I'd call my editor and I'd explain what happened in court, really, for my write-up. And there was just sheer disbelief because they could not believe the things that I was coming out with. They thought I was making it up. They thought it was a joke.
Were you in court for all the time?
No, I wasn't in court. You
were just outside relaying what was going on?
Yeah. So we were sort of fed lines. But much like the details that everybody probably knows, is really the main details of what happened were we only know what they are because they were reported in the press, and the press sort of picked the best juicy bits. And so, if you do have some knowledge of the play, then you might know some of the things that you can expect, but there's so much was not known that comes up from this. And so when I found out that there was a dramatisation of this play by Liv Hennessy, and she'd done such a great job of condensing all 7 days into just a short 90 minutes, it was absolutely something I wanted to do. And I've been lucky to work with such a great cast who are also terrific at bringing these people and these ideas to life. And the High Court trial, the doors were closed, the public couldn't go in, so this play really is an opportunity for those doors to be opened and for everybody to live the trial for themselves and make their own mind up.
Yes.
That's the key.
That leads me nicely on to one of the things that we've talked about in the past about the play, is that the audience are asked virtually to make their mind up about what they think about what they think the verdict will be. That's correct, is it?
Well, because the play is, it's a depiction of what happened in court where there wasn't a jury. Everything is directed towards the judge, but our jury, the audience, are secret observers. Whenever the counsel are pleading their case, they are technically talking to the judge, but there's a little wink to the audience, and everything is sort of, what do you think? And given that there's an interval as well, I think there's opportunity for people to be able to see one half of the evidence, then go and chat about it in the bar and see which way they're leaning, and they might have their heads turned the other way by the end. You never know.
Interesting. And so I think you said that there are two halves of the play.
Yeah.
With an interval in the middle, and the two halves are 45 minutes and 45 minutes. So it's a lovely, snappy evening of theatre. Which brings me on to talking to you, Dina, and you're playing Rebekah Vardy. What was your preparation for the role?
Yeah, so I didn't know too much about Rebekah Vardy, to be honest, before getting ready for this role. I did know about the trial, but her as a person, I wasn't, I didn't know that much about her life, her background. So I did listen to quite a few interviews with her and learned a lot about her, childhood, and she had quite a difficult childhood, and I think she was raised as a Jehovah's Witness and left home at 16, and did come up against quite a lot of, she came up against a lot of hurdles throughout her life. So I did start to feel quite a lot of sympathy for her, because I think, as Owen kind of mentioned, a lot of what was reported on this trial was just sort of press, big headlines. So I think a lot of people would have taken from that aside and just assumed something. And she did receive quite a lot of abuse at the time for people perhaps believing one side of the story and then sort of directing their anger. And the headlines are quite attention grabbing and polarising. And so that was quite effective at making her a bit of a demon in all of this. So in preparing for this role, I felt like I kind of got to see the softer side of Rebekah, which was nice and very helpful. But then being able to bring that to stage in an hour and a half play is a different story. And my focus has really been to try to get across her character, but also, as Owen said, like condensing 7 days of trial into, the two halves. So my cross-examination's 45 minutes, and you're really trying to like ride the waves of emotions that she would have felt over the days into such a short space of time. And so that's been quite a challenge to try to do that with, trying to also stay loyal to who she is as a person as well. And at the end of the day, I don't know her, so it's who I think she is as a person from listening to her in various different contexts talking about different parts of her life. So yeah, let's see how people think she is as a person from seeing my portrayal of her, whether that does her any favours or not. But...
Well, it's your portrayal and your interpretation of the script as well, because the script is of course verbatim, so you are talking her words and thinking her thoughts to a certain extent.
Yeah, and that has been really fun, and sort of like Owen was saying it's some parts of it are quite shocking, like you don't believe that these words are actually uttered, or these sorts of exchanges between her and the barrister that interrogates her, Coleen's barrister. You can't believe that this is how the exchange unfolded, so that's been quite fun, and you can sort of play around with it. And yeah, the way that it's been turned into a script has sort of brought it to life, so it's not just sort of a flat courtroom cross-examination, because I don't know if many people have been in court, but it can get a little bit dry after a while. So we've tried to take the dryness out of it and make it a lot more fun.
So it's like a kind of highlight riding the waves, sort of, you're skimming across the top of all the waves. Yeah,
she's taken the best bits, really, I think, the most entertaining bits. So if anybody did want to know anything about the play, come and watch. If they want to know about anything about the trial, come and watch this play, and they will get the best bits in an hour and a half.
Cool. Excellent. And Roger, you play Rebekah's barrister.
Yes.
Which means I assume that
I cross-examine Coleen Rooney. That's my main role.
Excellent.
My role is to... obviously the case was brought by Rebekah, so it's a libel trial, and she is claiming that she was so badly damaged by this reveal post that Coleen Rooney put up about the circumstances of all the fake posts that she claims was being leaked by Rebekah Vardy. And the case was being brought by Rebekah Vardy, i.e. me, her lawyer, and I'm trying to suggest that there was a huge amount of personal damage to her, to Rebekah's and her family, and that she deserves a lot of damages as a result. The way I do it is to try and suggest that all this social media material, is it actually genuine? I mean, when people post on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, are the words that they are actually saying, are they meant in this way? One of the processes of a libel case is to get thousands and thousands of documents of these social media posts, such as the things that were tweeted between or put on WhatsApp between Rebekah and Coleen. And my job is to try and suggest, well, on paper it looks like this is really meant, but in reality, when you put up a social media post, are you genuinely meaning it, or are you just joking about it? And that's one of the devices I'm using when I interrogate Coleen.
It's quite interesting, because it's I think, like to Roger's point, that social media element makes it quite interesting to anyone, even if you're not interested in footballers or wags or law. Everyone's using social media, and so examining those sorts of questions makes it quite makes it relevant to a lot of people who are then going to ask themselves, do I need to think twice before I post that next thing? What if one day something happened and then I was being asked, did I actually mean it, or would I be happy to stand behind what I wrote? So I think that's just a good point that it.
Can I give you an example?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
So at one point, Rebekah texts Coleen saying, "Hope you're okay. You're a tough girl. Keep smiling. Sending hugs." Now,
That's very nice.
Now, what I say as the barrister of Rebekah to Coleen in court is, there's nothing suspicious about that message, is there, Mrs. Rooney? And Coleen replies, "I felt like it was a bit of fishing for information." So it's exactly the kind of detail that when you look at it and it's written down months and years after the event, you think, there isn't anything suspicious about that. At the time, in the context of a social media to and fro, Coleen sees it in another way. And actually, I think that's what the best thing about the play is to say our world of social media today is so thoroughly, there's so much quantity about it, there's so much over-interpretation of it.
It does make it quite difficult, sort of, at playing Rebekah, and as you were saying earlier about interpreting the lines. I don't want to be making up the audience's mind for them in the way that I'm reading that text, but I do have to make a decision on how I'm going to play it. And I can say it one way and it could sound like fishing, and I could say it in another way and it could sound very, very sweet and syrupy. So it's quite hard that you have to sort of examine each one of those posts, because we do go back and look at the posts and bring them to life, and doing that in a way that is semi-objective but also trying to be as true as you can to the character.
One of the other fascinating things about this play is it's about the collision between something as austere and establishment as the Royal Courts of Justice and the libel case, and the mad, chaotic, fun world of tabloidese, the Sun mainly, the news of the world as it used to be, and the world of footballers, professional footballers, their wives, their girlfriends, all of this taking place in this kind of mad frenzy of everything being tweeted about. And not only that, but millions and millions of followers of people like Coleen Rooney, swallowing all this information up by the minute. And here is the Royal Courts of Justice trying to make a judgment that will end up costing someone millions and millions of pounds.
And so do you feel like you have to dramatise the characters that you're playing, or do you feel like you're actually almost being a documentary presentation?
For Rebekah, I feel like it needs a bit of dramatisation, but just to make it fit in the time frame. So I think she could reach that level of passion and emotion in her day-to-day life, but we might not see that in the process of a short cross-examination. So I think we've sort of allowed her to be dramatised to make it obviously more entertaining, but also to allow the whole thing to be condensed. Because I think if we were to read it all, she does, if you've ever seen interviews with her, she can be quite putting on her interview persona, quite softly spoken, quite composed, kind of trying to really hold things in, but you can see she's got this fiery side that she doesn't want to let out. And I don't know if anybody saw her on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, but then there were like snippets of that where you could see that side of her coming through. So I think she has this side, and I'm not bringing it out of thin air, but I'm just trying to put it in a way that is going to make it work with the way that it's put into a play.
In terms of the barristers, and in terms of the dramatisation, as you say, this was a 7-day trial, and if you sat through it, you would be sleeping for about 4 of it. If you are able to condense it into a drama, as we are able to, what you want to do is to, how can I put it, to send it up a little bit, particularly the establishment, with fun and laughs to bring it all out. Because whatever you think about the legal profession, it is an enclosed world. When you actually expose it to the public, they go, what the hell is this? This guy who's wearing a wig, for God's sake, as I am right now for this podcast, this guy who's wearing a wig and talking to, interrogating a wag, a wife of a professional footballer. What the hell is all this about? And that is, I think, what we're trying to do, which is to say, this was an actual event that happened, but we shouldn't take it too seriously.
Yeah, so it's actually, first and foremost, it's a piece of theatre that the audience are going to respond to. And it has to be interesting, and it has to be funny, funny and it has to have a bit of drama and a bit of tragedy. And so would you call it a comedy or would you call it?
I would call it a comedy.
Right.
Because it's really quite hilarious, but just the transcript, without us even having to do too much, I think it's hilarious.
I think it's a farce as well.
Right. Okay.
And I also think it's one of those microscopes into a world most of us will never come across.
Okay.
So I think people will leave the theatre being thoroughly amused and entertained and going, my God, did that really happen?
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Roger, I know that you have performed in several plays at Putney before.
Including with you.
Including with me. So just give us a little rundown of what you've been in before and who you played, please.
I started a couple of years ago in My Fair Lady. I was Alf Doolittle, so I was doing a little bit of that. And singing and dancing, that was great fun. I did Scandaltown, the Mike Bartlett place, and Shakespeare in Love with You. That was tremendous fun. That was a great laugh. And I've just done the summer festival of Much Ado About Nothing, which was also tremendous fun.
And Dina, we haven't seen you here before.
No.
I hope we will see you here again.
Yeah.
What other plays have you been to?
So this is my first with Putney, and it's actually my first play to do where I'm playing a real person. So this has been, very different experience for me, and really fun to work at Putney with all the amazing talents. I did Emma with Questors Theatre in the summer, so a few months ago. That was Questors Theatre's first outdoor production. So I just came off the back of that to here. And then prior to that, there's a local group in Chiswick called St Michael's Players. So I've been doing a few things with them over the last few years. So we did The Government Inspector, The Railway Children, and Harvey over the last 18 months or so. So that's what's been keeping me busy.
Yes,
I'm kind of addicted to it. It's so fun.
Oh, yes. Right, okay, well that is amazing. Thank you very much, Owen and Roger and Dina, for creating the excitement for us to come and see this amazing show. This is just a reminder that Fahmy v Rooney, the Wagatha Christie Trial, plays at Putney Arts Theatre on the 14th to the 18th of October with a Saturday matinee performance. Tickets are available from putneyartstheatre.org.uk/what's on. That just remains for me to say get well soon, Cait. And thanks everyone for listening, and see you next time for Lights Up.
Yay!
Bye! Come and see the show!
Thank you.
This is a real Putney Theatre Company production. Do share the podcast with your friends and take a look at our website, searching online for the Putney Theatre Company. So that's it for now. See you next time.